Welcome to a new episode of Positive Talk Daily. My name is Mr. Positive. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify at Mr. Positive Live. Please subscribe to our YouTube page today. That spreads the content. Liking our stuff also gets it out to more people. So check out Mr. Positive Live today. Please click on that bell icon and get notified when we go live. So today on Positive Talk Daily, how to save on buying a brand new smartphone. Now, maybe you're coming from something like this, a Nokia type device, a candy bar style phone, which is considered a future phone, not so much a smartphone. Now, something like this has some smartphone functionalities. This is basically a Nokia, and this Nokia does have some pretty good specs. You can Facebook, YouTube, things like that. It ain't the most powerful device on the planet, but it can get the job done. Go check out the video we just did today, talking about, maybe you want to go from, maybe you don't want to really buy $1,000 smartphone, something like an iPhone. Maybe you don't want to buy an iPhone 16 Pro Max. Maybe you just want something simple, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Different price ranges, phones that you can find at a decent price. That's what we're going to talk about today on Positive Talk. Now, there are great phones on the market like Samsung Galaxy S25, the OnePlus series of smartphones, phones like the, Samsung Galaxies, the iPhone 16s, and, maybe the Pixel devices. Now, a lot of these phones, come with decent cameras, decent specs on board. But who really wants to spend $1,000 on a smartphone? There's also the iPhone 16. The iPhone 16e is an inexpensive iPhone that has replaced the iPhone SE, basically third generation, and it runs for around $500, which is still pretty steep for a smartphone. There's also the S25 series of smartphones, which run right around $1,000. But not everybody wants $1,000 smartphone. So like I was showing you in the first video we did today, you don't have to go out and buy a $1,000 smartphone like this anymore. There are other options. You can go out and buy decent smartphones. It doesn't have to be, $1,000 purchase every smartphone. There are going to be people out there that want to go out and purchase the newest smartphone every year, and that's okay. If you're one of those people that has to have the latest technology, be up to date on every camera, every spec, that's up to you. You know what I mean? We're not telling you what to do with your $1,000, but for those out there who are penny consumers who just want something to get the job done, this is what this video is for. We're not out there to tell people what to do with their money. Again, you do what you want. Today I'm going to tell you about a price range of different phones. So if you're someone out there who's looking for a mid-range smartphone, there are a variety of great mid-range smartphones that I think you could check out. There are plenty from different companies, like Samsung has plenty of the A series smartphones. The A16 5G is a really decent mid-range smartphone. It can also be used as an entry-level budget smartphone, but it's a really decent phone for around $300. You can get the highest tier plan, but you can also get an A16 on a lot of different carriers, something like Metro by T-Mobile, Total by Verizon. You can go to a local carrier like Straight Talk and get the A16 for, I seen it for $199 at Walmart, so that's a pretty good deal. And in some places like Cricket Wireless, you can get the phone for under $100. Just by porting in a phone number. So the A16 is a really solid smartphone. It has an OLED display, has a 6.6-inch display. It's really decent. It's got 50 megapixel cameras on board. So you're getting a solid smartphone. Now, you would think, well, if it's a mid-range smartphone, there's also the Google Pixel A8. That's a fairly decent phone as well, which can be had for around $300 or I've seen it for $299. But this is a phone you can just buy through Google's website, through Google Fi. The Pixel series of smartphones are very popular, known for their cameras and their AI features and stuff like that. So There are all kinds of phones you can choose from in the budget category, but mainly in the mid-range category. I think the Pixel A8 is a decent phone. The A7 is also another phone from Google that you could check out from last year. That phone is still really relatively popular and does really well. And I think the iPhone 16e, like we showed you the photo, the video there just a few minutes ago of the 16e. This is a brand new phone that's been out for maybe about a month or two now, and a lot of people have been giving it negative reviews because Apple is asking for about $600 for the highest tier plan for the iPhone 16e. Okay, so what you're getting with the iPhone 16e is a 6.1 inch HDR display, or Retina HDR, which is OLED, and it's giving you a 6.1 inch screen, 800 nits of brightness. You are getting a single 48 megapixel camera. And right now there are some deals through like Boost Mobile where you can get this phone for $299, and that's a 128 gig model. You can go up as high as the 512 gigabyte model. And the 48 megapixel camera is actually the same camera that's found on the iPhone 16 Standard Edition. Now, here's the thing that makes this phone interesting is it only has one rear camera. They are using Apple Intelligence for some of the photo processing and things like that. And ChatGPT is built in on the phone, so it does have some AI features. It does remove the fingerprint scanner from the original iPhone SE, third generation. This is basically the predecessor to the iPhone SE models of phones. So they replaced the SE with the 16e, dropping the SE name. And again, pretty much getting you're basically getting a downgraded iPhone 16. And why I say it's downgraded is you're not getting two cameras, which I don't know why they shouldn't put an additional camera on board. I think a lot of people would like to have two cameras. That's another thing. Apple's forcing people to go out and spend money. You're not getting a charger with the phone. That's another problem with going with the flagship devices. I think it's silly that Apple goes down that road. Samsung does the same thing, and so does it. Motorola, Lenovo, and companies like Samsung and Google all do the same thing by not giving you the package. You're paying a lot of money for these phones, and that's why I say go for prepaid, because when you go for prepaid, you'll get, like through HMD here, this one's solid. You're getting a Snapdragon 680 chipset. Only a few years ago, this was considered a mid-range chipset. You're getting 10-watt fast charging. A lot of people will say that's not, but it's still fast charging to some degree. The problem with the iPhone 16e, we're going to get our hands on one. We're going to do a full video review, and we're even going to compare it to an iPhone SE third generation to see if it's even a worth upgrade. Maybe you're coming from an iPhone SE or an older iPhone 11 or something. Is it really worth upgrading from an iPhone 11, 12, or 13 to that phone? Or are you just better off going on eBay or Amazon Renewed and buying a new iPhone from there, or used iPhone, I should say? The 16e is still a solid phone. You're getting the A18 chipset. Problem is, they removed one of the cores, so you're only getting 4 cores versus the 5 or 6 cores that are in the iPhone 16. So iPhone 16e Apple removed the fifth core that was supposed to be in the original iPhone 16. I know it sounds confusing, but they removed that core, which downgrades the graphics when you're gaming. But you won't notice it in everyday usage. It's still the same chipset that's found in the iPhone 16, but they remove a core. This is for processing and stuff like that. They're also saying that it's 8 gigabytes of RAM, which is great to see. But they're also, they removed that core. So why do that, though? A lot of the problems that I'm seeing with this phone are MagSafe. A lot of people like to use MagSafe accessories on their iPhones. That's been around since 2020. The phone does not, again, the brightness is not on par with the iPhone 16. So why force people to go out and spend $600 or $500 when the phone could just be $399 to $400. I think Apple is kind of ripping people off with this phone, but we'll take a look at the phone in a few weeks ourselves as we get our hands on an iPhone 16e. Overall, I've seen the performance is pretty good. I don't think the phone's bad, but I think coming from traditional iPhones, if you're someone out there who's interested in purchasing a budget iPhone, I would say go for a older flagship iPhone from maybe last year. The iPhone 15s can be on sale for $400. You can also get other iPhones as well for the same price. Even cheaper, $300-400 for an iPhone 13 Pro Max or even the 14 Pro Max, which is a much better phone than the 16e. So moving on down to other phones you could check out in the lower price range. There's the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. That's a really relatively decent phone as well, running a Exynos chipset, which is decent. It's on Samsung's very own chipset, and that can be had for about roughly $300 and stuff like that. You may not get the cameras of a high-end S25 or S25 Ultra, but it's still a relatively good phone for the price. Moving on down the line, there is the I should say in the same price range as the A54, we do see the Samsung Galaxy S23 FE from last year. The S23 FE is a almost flagship level device that has really decent processing chipset. It has a 8 Gen 1 chipset, Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset with 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 12 gigabyte RAM model, and the same camera found on the similar S23 from a few years ago. There's also this year's S24 FE. The S24 FE is the predecessor to the S24. You are getting a decent chipset here. It's the 8 Gen 2 Snapdragon chipset, and gives you a decent, and it's also an Exynos chipset on board. Another version of that phone as well. You're getting pretty much the same camera found on the S24, just downgraded materials and things like that. Overall, there are plenty of options. You don't have to go with the $1,000 smartphone. This is what this video is for. Moving on down the line, under $300, $200, there are plenty of the Motorola phones. There's the Moto Edge 2024, which we did a review on my older YouTube channel, which was deleted. I do have to make a new video. We still have that phone. And that one's a really solid phone. It's an edge-to-edge display. It kind of looks like the S9 from 2019, the S9, the S10, more like the S8, S9 edge-to-edge display. You're getting it's a Snapdragon 7S Gen 2. So it's, again, Snapdragon 7 Gen 2 processor on board with either 8 or 12 gigabytes of virtual RAM. So the phone runs really smoothly, and you get 144 hertz refresh rate. So check out that phone. You get that on deals with Metro by T-Mobile. If you port in a number or add a new line, you can get that phone for easily free or even $50. So still a hell of a deal for a phone that's almost flagship level. There's also the Moto G Stylus 2024 from last year. Really solid phone, has wireless charging, a phone under $200. A phone under $200 having wireless charging, and you can charge other devices. And it also has OLED display and stereo speakers and an S Pen. So some decent deals with Motorola. There's HMD with the HMD Vibe. This is for phones under $100. Really solid phone. You can also go with last year's Samsung Galaxy A15 5G. Go check out that video we did. I think that's probably a really solid phone. It's 5G. This phone here is not a 5G phone, but for a phone under $100, this is probably the best deal this is probably the best phone for under $50. You're getting a 6.5 inch HD plus display, which is 720p. You are getting a 8 megapixel front facing camera, a 13 megapixel main camera, and a 2 megapixel micro camera. So depth camera, I should say. These phones are all in decent price ranges, and you don't have to go out and spend $1,000 on a high-end smartphone. The days of new buying $1,000 smartphone have come to an end. These lower-end smartphones can easily compete with a flagship phone just on daily tasks. Like if I'm loading Facebook. The thing with the iPhone, especially the 16e or even the iPhone 16s, they don't even have a fast refresh rate. They give you a 90 hertz refresh rate on these lower end smartphones, which seems snappier in some cases. I've seen people complaining about the 16 Pro Max because of its dynamic island slowing things down and all this AI stuff that they're trying to, put out. This phone runs really solid. Like I was surprised this was even a $30 smartphone. Walk into your local CVS, Dollar Store, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, Walmart, and you have a decent running phone and a 400 nits of brightness. So, and something iPhone's not doing, putting two cameras on a $30 smartphone, which you don't get. Again, Apple is ripping people off. Okay, they just are. Yes, you might have really good chipsets inside them, but again, this phone here has two cameras. It has a matte finish. It's also got some water resistance. It does have fast charging on the bottom. It does have a headphone jack, which you're not seeing. And it has speakers that are mono. But still, I mean, you're seeing how people get ripped off by Apple and Samsung and, going for these higher end smartphones. You're not getting a charger in the box anymore. We've reported this multiple times. Even when you buy the Samsung tablets, they make you go out and spend another $40, $50 on a damn charging brick, which, they know that most people can afford the charging brick, but I mean, come on. I had to spend $25 extra to get a Samsung charging brick. This came with it, but this didn't. So, Samsung, Apple, Google, put your accessories with the packaging. Just because of this eco-friendly woke garbage that they push, maybe Trump can take care of that. You know what I mean? There are plenty of phones out there. A lot of the companies like Blue will give you accessories, charges. There are plenty of smaller companies like HMD that throw charges in there. If you buy a used phone, stay away from the newer phones. Just stay away from the iPhone 17 when it comes out in October. It's going to be the same phone as this year. Maybe some changes with the screen or something, but cameras may change a little bit. But overall, it's the same phone year in, year out. There's nothing changing with Apple. Same thing with Samsung. It's the same boring design. They tell you it's 50% faster, which it probably is. But if you're just someone who's scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or game a little bit, even these cheaper phones nowadays can do Call of Duty Mobile. They can game at decent rates, and you're not getting a high refresh rate on even the standard iPhone 16. That's $800. So don't waste your money. For Mr. Positive Live, I'm Mr. Positive. Stick to used or prepaid market phones because you're not going to have to pay the $1,000 price tag.